Welcome, fellow travelers. I'm John, and today we're stepping into a country that captures imagination like few others, Nepal. Tucked away in the heart of the Himalayas, Nepal is a land where ancient traditions meet breathtaking natural wonders. It's a place of soaring mountains, colorful temples, winding streets filled with life, and some of the most welcoming people you'll ever meet. Whether you've dreamed of standing in the shadow of Mount Everest, exploring hidden courtyards in Kathmandu, or simply experiencing a culture that has thrived for centuries, Nepal is a destination that feels like stepping into another world. Now let's take a look at where Nepal is on our map. Okay, we are, right here is India, and right here is China. And Nepal is nestled right in between these two countries, right here. And the Himalayas run right along this stretch right here. And this is where we find Mount Everest. It's one of the highest peaks in the world at 12,000 feet. The place where we're going on this journey right here. So I want you to grab your passport and find your seat, and let's get this adventure started. Good morning, fellow travelers. We don't have a very long flight this morning. If you look out your right side of the plane, you'll see a wonderful view of Mount Everest, and that is going to be one of our destinations on this leg of the trip. We are going to be landing at the airport at Kathmandu, which is the capital city, and we were picked up there by a tour group. We had a fun ride. They picked us up in rickshaws, and as we went down through the city, the thought occurred to me, we traveled with a lady that told us about her trip many years ago, and when they landed in Kathmandu, the hotel picked them up in elephants. Each person had their own elephant, and we rode to the hotel. So you'll be able to see as we ride along here just how busy this city is. When we got to this fellow that was fixing the telephone, the thought came to me of the ad I always see in the United States. It says, "Can you hear me yet?" So you can imagine it looks like I don't know how in the world they'd ever fix anything, like that. But it was a fun ride. I shot just some street scenes as we went through the city on the way to our hotel, and just street life. People making clothes while they are standing there, and families on motorbikes, and just different pictures of people that were just walking in the street and doing just daily life. So we arrived at our hotel, the Dwarika, a very famous hotel, and these are pictures of the courtyard and swimming pool and that kind of thing, and a very beautiful hotel. We were a little surprised as the porters were taking the baggage off. These Charmin was sitting on a bench as we were unloading, and of course I couldn't possibly not pass up a picture of that. We see these in different parts of the world, these fellas. These are pretty well dressed. Lots of places that we go, particularly India, they don't have any clothes on, and that's always a little interesting. But we had a beautiful room. It's a very, very nice hotel, and we really enjoyed staying there to see how spacious and comfortable it was. And after we got settled in, we went down, met our guide who we had throughout the trip, and he actually lives in Kathmandu, and so he brought his family over one afternoon, and we met them, and just a lovely family. We had a great time getting to know them. So that afternoon, we started on our tour, and it's really amazing when you visit a lot of these places, just how much religion plays in their life. And Nepal is just a melting pot of religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Tantrism. So much of the things that you see focused around, religion. You see these street-side altars, you see these prayer wheels, which instead of actually praying, the people just walk by and spin these wheels. The prayer is actually inside that wheel, and they spin those wheels instead of actually saying the prayer. As you see in this picture with the prayer wheels, it's like apparently monkeys are a big deal in this religion, because they're all over these temples, and the people apparently take care of them, and much like they do the cattle in India. But you just see these altars all over. This picture here is one of the oldest shrines in the world. If you'll notice, it's just covered in these beautiful prayer flags, and as you get a close-up look at it, you can see, number one, it's four-sided, and on each side are painted these eyes. And we're told that they're supposed to be very compassionate eyes. I didn't really think they looked that way to me, but anyway, the four-sided eyes are supposed to be a very compassionate, and the one in the middle is a mystical eye, and it's a symbol of true wisdom. So it was a huge complex, and maybe these pictures don't quite do it, justice, but it's a big complex. And while we were in that area, one thing that we witnessed, and we have seen this in different parts of the world, but it always is kind of a showstopper in a lot of ways. These people in this picture are preparing their mother, like for cremation. You'll see in the next picture, these young boys are building the altar for that cremation. We just happened to ask them what was the purpose of the seaweed that you see that is surrounding the altar, and they said it makes the fire burn hotter, and so the cremation doesn't take quite as long. And after cremation's over, the family gets together and they eat a meal together. So, while we were there, we kind of got to see the whole thing, and it's always interesting to see what life's like on the other side of the world. That afternoon, we had a very pleasant visit, and you're looking at the outside of a city block. I'm going to call it a city block, a community block of homes. And this picture right here is of a single house that we were invited to go visit. And this gentleman and his family were most welcoming, and I was so impressed with them. And if I had time to tell you their whole story, it would be fascinating, but maybe we should move along. And I showed you some pictures of the inside of this house. This gentleman and his neighbors built this house right after, about 5 years earlier than we were there, they had a terrific earthquake. 600,000 buildings were destroyed in Kathmandu, and 9,000 people died. And so there was just no place to live, and these people actually built their own houses back, taking a number of years. But if you ever get a chance to watch a documentary called Aftershock, it tells about that event, and it covers both, what was going on in Kathmandu and also on Mount Everest. And that was of interest to us because we were getting ready to visit both of those places. But you can see this gentleman's house. It's very, very attractive. It was 3 stories, and I was surprised at how much room it was in it, but it was just a delight to spend some time. This is the gentleman and his wife and his wife's sister, and they prepared a meal for us, but before we started, they gave a cooking class. Showed us, the ladies in particular, how to make sort of a pasta type thing. They were lots of fun, and you can see here, these were the plates they were preparing for us. Just absolutely so attractive. We had a wonderful dinner there together. It was a little hard for me to sit on the floor, but that was where we sat, so we just, that's what we did. The next morning, we had a great adventure. We got up early, and this is the scene over Kathmandu as we went to the airport. Just a gorgeous view of the sun rising. And this is actually part of the international airport that we were waiting in. And you could see this big old monkey. He would run in there and dig something out of the garbage. And there was a lady there cleaning up, and she would just have a fit. She'd run over there and chase that rascal off with a broom, and he, as soon as she'd turn her back, he'd be right back over there. So we caught a little cart out to the airport taxiway. Its helicopters were lined up, and we loaded up. This guy was filling our helicopter up, and make a note of that because we're going to come back to that about this fuel thing. But anyway, we got all strapped in, and our pilot was actually one of the people that flies rescue missions up to the mountains, and I felt very safe with him. He was very confident, and we just loved him to death. You can see in these videos as we were flying, all this terrain is just up and down. It's huge mountains and hills, and it's just nothing flat in Nepal. And just any kind of helicopter flight is really a wonderful, exciting thing. But in this terrain right here, it was something else, and we just really enjoyed skimming over mountains and looking down into deep valleys and seeing, life as it would be. We were probably somewhere between 15,000 and 18,000 feet. You'll see a picture here where we start to actually land, which really surprised me. But we actually landed this little village, and this is probably one of the most interesting things we saw all day long. But the helicopter landed this little teeny village. We asked the pilot why we were stopping here, and he said, well, the helicopter's too heavy to go to Mount Everest, which was at 29,000 feet. He has to take the fuel off of the helicopter, and these gentlemen were basically siphoning the fuel out of the helicopter and putting it in these jugs to get the helicopter light enough to make the flight. And I'm kind of thinking, I'm really hoping these people are calculating this, really pretty carefully. Since we got a certain amount of fuel and now we're gonna have a lot less, I hope we're gonna have enough to get up there and get back. So they take this fuel off, and then flights that are coming back later, they actually put the fuel, back on so they can make it back to the airport. So anyway, we really start getting serious. We're up in the mountains now, and flying, some really high country up here. It's so rugged. It's unbelievable. This picture right here is really the first clear picture we get to see of Mount Everest. So we start making our descent. We land up there, and one of the scenes in this video you'll see is we're landing and all that dust blows up from the rotors and everything, and it reminded me so much of watching those Apollo flights when they would land on the moon and all that dust would fly up right before they would sit down. So it kind of was reminiscent of that. But when we landed, and we each got out, and he would point out the different mountains, Mount Everest and its sister mountain, the two tallest mountains in the whole world, are pretty much side by side up there. And so he gave us a good, view and took our pictures, and which was just, so much fun. As we started back down, you could see this really great picture, sort of panoramic view of Mount Everest. You got to be there to believe it. It's really awesome. So, we got back in, and this was a little bit of a surprise on this trip. I figured we'd go right back to the airport, but what we did was we actually landed. I looked around, and we were at a hotel. It was about 12,000 feet high, and you would have thought it would have been freezing cold, just like back on the mountain on Everest. It was really cold, and you can see the name on that, Hotel Everest. And so we landed there, and this thing was kind of snuggled down in a little valley, and they served breakfast at this hotel to us. You ordered anything you wanted. It was a custom cooked breakfast, you can believe that. And we sat out there in that, beautiful warm sunshine, and had breakfast. It was so picturesque, I just absolutely couldn't believe it. Of course, everybody had to get their picture taken, and you can tell from this right here, we'd be thinking, boy, wouldn't that make a great Christmas card? So after breakfast, we took off and started back down. And of course, there were two helicopters. There were 6 of us in our group. There were 3 in each helicopter. We started back. And as we started back home, I was able to photograph the helicopter behind us. I just want you to look at the scale of that thing. I mean, it's just mind-boggling how big Mount Everest is. And you just see that, that little teeny helicopter, the base of that mountain, and it's just something to behold, I'm telling you. So anyway, as we got further down toward the airport, you look back and see, where you've been, and what a view. What a wonderful trip we've had here to Nepal. What an unforgettable journey it's been here in Nepal. From the bustling streets of Kathmandu to the warmth of local families and the once-in-a-lifetime helicopter ride to the base of Mount Everest. Adventures like this stay with you forever, and I'm grateful you came along as one of our co-travelers. We've gotten even more incredible destinations ahead, and I hope you'll join me on the next one. So don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll be one of the first to know when our next journey begins. In the meantime, check out my website, outdoorstories.com. All the titles of the books I have written are listed there, as well as convenient ways to purchase them. Until then, keep making memories in our great outdoors with those you cherish the most. Let's keep exploring this amazing world together, and God bless.